So recently, I got to play through Space Marine 1. I finally decided, since I love Space Marine 2 so much, it would be worth going back to check out the game that started it all. And I was pleasantly surprised. I had a really good time, and I'll just throw it out there. If you really enjoy Space Marine 2, it's still worth going back and checking out the original. I had a lot of fun with it. I did play on the Master Crafted Edition, since that's what's available for Xbox right now. But anyways, there was a scene in there towards the end where you're playing as Captain Titus and you're pursuing Nemeroth kind of towards that big final anticlimactic, or yeah, not anticlimactic, but the final climactic battle to end the game and save the planet Graia from the corruption of chaos. And there's a scene where you're just going down this bridge as Titus. There's drop pods coming in. And one of the things that caught me off guard was coming out of these drop pods were not Ultramarines, but they were Blood Ravens. It was also kind of announced over the Vox that Black Templars had also entered the field of battle as well. And this was going to be a fight that was not going to just feature the Ultramarines, but other chapters as well. And as I was playing through that, I thought that scene was just so cool, and I was a little bummed out that we didn't get something like that in Space Marine 2, outside of the tutorial section, which did feature the Death Watch. But I have always been a big fan of getting to see different Space Marine chapters interact, and whenever we do eventually get Space Marine 3, it's something that I would love to see, is to have some other chapters get to share the big screen with the Ultramarines in some sort of meaningful way. And so that's the topic for today, is whenever we do get Space Marine 3, what chapters would you like to see featured within the game's campaign, or at least play a bigger role overall in the game itself, whether that be just strictly the campaign or operations as well, or whatever the equivalent would be that we get in the game. Now, for myself, I'm going to try to keep it a little bit realistic. That way I'm not setting any sort of unrealistic expectations for myself to where I just get bummed out. But I think it's also kind of important to take a look at what's going on lore-wise within the game, or rather the franchise right now. So Titus, he has been promoted again to captain of the second company. Unfortunately, Captain Akaran was killed off screen. So Titus is captain again. He has also been tasked by Rabute Gilliman, the Primarch, to reclaim the 500 worlds of Ultramar. And I think that there's a very fair chance that, depending on how long that storyline goes on, we're probably going to get to see some sort of snapshot of it featured within the next game, which I also think would be just genuinely really cool to see. So I'm going to base kind of my picks off of that. However, for yourself, just feel free to let me know what chapter you would like to see down in the comments. But for myself, I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit here at the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick some various Ultramarine successor chapters. I'm not really too picky on which ones it could be. I just think it would be really cool to get to see cousins on screen fighting side by side together. So whether that's the Nova Marines, the Praetors of Orphis, Size of the Emperor, whatever it might be, I think it would be really cool to get to see not only different Ultramarine successor chapters up there, but also ones that preferably have a little bit of a different culture compared to just like the standard Ultramarines. I believe that there's one, and I apologize if I am butchering the name, but I believe it's the Liberators or the Liberators, something along that end. But they are known for doing a lot of blood rituals, especially to honor Gilliman, and they feel that, anytime they take out a champion or anything like that, it makes the sacrifice all that more meaningful, which is something that you don't really get the vibe of with regular Ultramarines or even most of their successors. So just getting to see something like that on screen and some of the potential interactions that could cause, I feel like that would be really cool. Now, my second pick, and you knew this was going to come, but of course the Black Templars. So after reading the Dark Imperium trilogy, it was confirmed that the Black Templars were around within the Ultramar section of space. So more than likely, there would be some sort of crusading fleet there. If not, it's very easy to write in an excuse to bring them in because our boys in black, they love a good crusade. Plus, they're also a fan favorite, and I think that the way that they approach battle with just kind of rushing headlong into glory, and of course their notorious dislike of the Codex Astartes, I feel like that opens up some interesting dialogue or some interactions that we could get between the two different chapters. Now, for my last two picks, the first one that I'm going to throw out would be the Blood Angels or any of their successor chapters. I'm not really too worried about which ones, but the main reason I would like to see them featured is I think it would be so cool if we could have a scene or maybe a couple scenes dealing with the Black Rage. So for those of you that are maybe newcomers, following the death of Sanguinius at the hands of Horus, the Blood Angels became afflicted with the curse known as the Black Rage, which is essentially they hulk out, they think that they're Sanguinius in that final climactic battle with Horus aboard the Vengeful Spirit, and they begin to attack everything around them. I think it would just be really cool to get to see this on screen, especially if it's something to where, you know, we're working alongside the Blood Angels, and of course this curse can come out of nowhere. I think it would be really interesting to see that handled on screen, especially because it's not something that you would want to do. The Blood Angels and a lot of their successors, they're fan favorites for a reason. And I think to be put in that predicament of where maybe you might have to put down a fellow brother in arms because they've lost control to the Black Rage would be incredibly interesting. Now, my final pick would be the Dark Angels. Specifically, though, the subsection known as the Risen. I'm not sure if they're really their own chapter just yet. But for those of you that don't know, the Primarch, Lionel Johnson, he has returned within this setting. And with him, he's been kind of going around gathering up some of the fallen that are still willing to fight along his side. He's named them the Risen, and he's brought them back to go around and help kind of clean out the galaxy ever since he's returned after his 10,000-year dad nap. One of the things that I think would make it really interesting is we haven't got to see an interaction between Guilliman or the Lion so far within the setting. I believe all that we've gotten right now is just a message from the Lion to Guilliman stating that, you know, he's back and that they need to talk. So I think getting to see some sort of interaction, maybe if not Primarch-wise, at least between the two chapters, especially, again, using the Risen for this, would be incredibly interesting. Plus, because the Risen do tend to follow Lionel Johnson, he has this new ability that allows him to essentially go into like a mirror world of Caliban and kind of transverse the Imperium almost at will. I think it'd be really cool and an easy way to write them into joining the fray. Just maybe seeing Lionel Johnson, I almost called him the Johnson, just appear out of nowhere with a group of the Risen to help, you know, maybe in a moment where you feel like your back's up against the wall. Just feel like that would be such a really cool moment. And potentially, if it means we get to see two Primarchs on screen within the game, I think that would be really cool. I will throw out, though, I do feel that their reunion does maybe need to be handled in something else, lore-wise first, just because not everybody's going to necessarily go out and buy the game. And I know not everybody reads, but I feel like if we are going to get their return, that should be something that's special and is going to be easily accessible to most of the community. But again, just to see those two chapters take the screen, especially because they're the two with their Primarchs still being around, I think that would be really cool. But as always, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. What chapter do you want to see? Let me know why, because sometimes the why is a little bit more interesting. But as always, thank you for watching, and we will catch you next time.